Established in 1868, the United States Naval Academy Cemetery is the final resting place of some of America's most distinguished heroes, to include 12 Medal of Honor recipients and countless men and women who have contributed greatly to our country. And today I'll be walking these grounds to visit some of the graves and pay tribute to those who served our nation. Upon arriving to the U.S. Naval Academy Cemetery, you can't help but be struck by the beauty of it. It's located here on the U.S. Naval Academy grounds, right along the Severn River over there. And there are headstones from the 1800s all the way up to modern times, because you have graduates of the United States Naval Academy, their family members, or other military veterans who are laid to rest here. And as you walk around, you'll see some of these older, more recognizable military white headstones, and plenty others with anchors and nautical motifs and anything else you can imagine. It really is quite beautiful. And you'll even have grave sites like this. This one is to an unknown soldier of the U.S. Army, and I'm not really sure of the story there. And as I mentioned, there are 12 Medal of Honor recipients buried here at the cemetery. And this is the first one we'll visit today. This is the final resting place of Thomas Jones, who served as a seaman during the American Civil War on board the USS Ticonderoga. And his Medal of Honor citation reads in part, "On board the USS Ticonderoga during attacks on Fort Fisher, 24th and 25th December, 1864, and 13th to the 15th of January, 1865, despite heavy return fire by the enemy, in the explosion of the 100-pounder Parrott rifle, which killed 8 men and wounded 12 more, Jones, as captain of a gun, performed his duties with skill and courage during the first 2 days of battle." That's remarkable, and just imagining what men like Thomas Jones experienced on board those ships and the lives that they lived at sea during the American Civil Wars is almost hard to imagine. Right across the street from the final resting place of Thomas Jones is the grave of Admiral Arleigh Burke. He was a 1923 graduate of the United States Naval Academy and served primarily during World War II, where he served under Admiral Halsey and commanded Destroyer Division 43, 44, and Destroyer Squadrons 12 and 23. In 1943, Arleigh Burke fought in 22 separate engagements and destroyed multiple Japanese warship and aircraft. He ultimately retired as a 4-star admiral on August 1st, 1961. And as many of you may already know, the United States Navy's current surface workhorse, the destroyers that we utilize, are named in his honor. They are the Arleigh Burke class destroyers. We're going to continue on here. I believe just up a ways is the final resting place of John McCain. Now I'm here at the grave of John Sidney McCain III. Now, prior to his passing on August 25th, 2018, he was best known as a senator from Arizona, and he also ran as a presidential candidate in 2008. But before his career in politics, McCain served as a U.S. naval officer. He graduated from the United States Naval Academy in 1958 and served as a ground attack pilot during the Vietnam War. And during the war, he was shot down over Hanoi and captured by the North Vietnamese. He was held as a prisoner of war for 5.5 years, during which he was tortured and held in solitary confinement until he was finally released in 1973. He received the Silver Star and Legion of Merit. And due to the torture he experienced as a POW, which many of you again may remember, for the rest of his life, John McCain was essentially unable to raise his arms above his shoulders. Just behind the grave of John McCain, this one caught my eye, not only due to its size, but due to this ornate stone anchor and chain that are on top. And this is the final resting place of 2 midshipmen, William Edward Traylor Newman and Thomas Ward Jr. And it says here they were killed in the discharge of their duty on board the U.S. battleship Missouri during target practice off Pensacola Bay, Florida, April 13th, 1904. I'm just up the hill now visiting the grave of Rear Admiral Isaac Campbell Kidd. A 1906 graduate of the United States Naval Academy, Kidd served as an ensign on board the battleship USS New Jersey and participated in the sailing around the world of the Great White Fleet from 1907 to 1909. During World War I, he served on board the battleship USS New Mexico. And when World War II broke out, Kidd was then serving as a Rear Admiral as the commander of the Navy's Battleship Division I at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, when Japan attacked on December 7, 1941. During the attack, he was killed on the deck of the battleship USS Arizona, and Kidd was later awarded the Medal of Honor. And his citation reads, "For conspicuous devotion to duty, extraordinary courage, and complete disregard of his own life during the attack on the fleet in Pearl Harbor by Japanese forces on 7 December 1941, Rear Admiral Kidd immediately went to the bridge and as Commander Battleship Division I, courageously discharged his duties as senior officer present afloat until the USS Arizona, his flagship, blew up from the magazine explosions and a direct bomb hit on the bridge, which resulted in the loss of his life." This obelisk marker caught my eye, and this is the grave of Commodore Isaac Mayo, who served in the U.S. Navy and died on May 10, 1861. And admittedly, I'd never heard of Commodore Mayo, so I'll have to do a little research on his life and his service to the Navy. But this side inscription reads, "He won high fame as a lieutenant in the War of 1812, as a captain in the war with Mexico, and as commander-in-chief in Africa during his last service afloat." That sounds fascinating, so I can only imagine the stories that Commander Mayo would have had. And this monument is placed to his memory by his devoted and bereaved wife. And this last side reads, "A sea officer of heroic mold, prompt in action, undaunted in battle, kind and gentle at home." Right here by Commodore Mayo's grave is another marker that caught my eye. And I'll tell you, if I keep up like this, I'm absolutely going to be here all day. But once I read some of this inscription, I wanted to share it with you all. This is the grave of Commander Edward Terry. And it says that he served with great distinction in the battles of New Orleans, Vicksburg, Port Hudson, and Mobile. So, born in 1839 as a young man, served with distinction throughout the American Civil War in some of the U.S. Navy's most trying times. Perhaps the most fascinating individual from U.S. Navy history to study is Fleet Admiral Ernest King, who's laid to rest right here alongside of his wife, Martha. Admiral King is best known for his leadership during World War II. And in 1938, he was promoted to Vice Admiral after decades of service. In February 1941, he was promoted to Admiral and made commander of the Atlantic Fleet. And following the attack on Pearl Harbor, he was made Commander-in-Chief of the United States Fleet. From March 1942 to December 1945, he also served as the Chief of Naval Operations. And buried right near Fleet Admiral King is another hero of the Second World War. This is the final resting place of Bruce McCandless, who's one of the Medal of Honor recipients laid to rest here. His Medal of Honor citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and exceptionally distinguished service above and beyond the call of duty as communication officer of the USS San Francisco in combat with the Japanese forces in the Battle of Savo Island, 12 to 13 November 1942. In the midst of a violent night engagement, the fire of a determined and desperate enemy seriously wounded Lieutenant Commander McCandless and rendered him unconscious, killed or wounded the admiral in command, his staff, the captain of the ship, the navigator, and all other personnel on the navigating and signal bridges. Faced with the lack of superior command upon his recovery, he promptly assumed command of the ship and ordered her course and gunfire against an overwhelmingly powerful force. With his superiors and other vessels unaware of the loss of their admiral, and challenged by his great responsibility, Lieutenant Commander McCandless boldly continued to engage the enemy and to lead our column of following vessels to a great victory." Over here by the road is the grave of a man named William Jeffers. Now, William Jeffers served as a naval officer in both the Mexican-American War and the American Civil War. And one fascinating thing about him, he joined the Navy in September 1840 as a midshipman, and he served on the famous frigates USS United States and USS Congress for 5 years. During the American Civil War, he was the commanding officer of the steamer USS Philadelphia, patrolling the Potomac River. And in May of 1862, he served on board the famous ironclad USS Monitor. Not far from the grave of William Jeffers is a Medal of Honor recipient, a man named Richard Wainwright Jr. His citation reads, for distinguished conduct in battle, engagements of Veracruz, 21 to 22 April 1914. Lieutenant Wainwright was eminent and conspicuous in command of his battalion, was in the fighting of both days, and exhibited courage and skill in leading his men through action. In seizing the custom house, he encountered for many hours the heaviest and most pernicious concealed fire of the entire day, but his courage and coolness under trying conditions were marked. Of course, the United States Naval Academy has had numerous astronauts who have graduated from here, and one of those was a man named Bill Anders. He was a 1955 grad of the United States Naval Academy and was also a member of the famous Apollo 8 crew, which was the first crewed voyage around the moon. I think that's super neat. And he also has this really interesting looking grave marker. It's like a pyramid, and it also lists some of his other accomplishments that he had in his life. And Bill Anders, incredible man, he passed away in June of 2024, and he's buried here with his wife Valerie, and it says, "Side by side through time and space." And buried very near to Bill Anders is another well-known astronaut, Jim Lovell. And unfortunately, Jim just passed away last August, and this is his headstone where he's buried alongside his wife Marilyn. And he was a graduate of the United States Naval Academy and also worked as a test pilot prior to joining NASA in 1962. He flew on 4 historic missions: Gemini 7, which was a 14-day endurance flight, Gemini 12, which was the final mission of the program, Apollo 8 alongside Bill Anders, which again was the first crewed spacecraft to orbit the moon, and Apollo 13, which was the ill-fated mission that was crippled by an oxygen tank explosion. For the Apollo 13 mission, he was the crew's commander and led them through the repairs and return to Earth. And in the 1995 film Apollo 13, actor Tom Hanks plays Jim Lovell. And when Lovell died last August, Hanks said, "There are people who dare, who dream, and who lead others to places we would not go on our own. Jim Lovell was that kind of guy." I'm going to finish up my time here at the U.S. Naval Academy Cemetery visiting one of the most interesting grave markers here, and one that arguably has the best view. Look at that. What makes this even more interesting is that the man buried here has a personal connection to the Battle of Gettysburg. This is the final resting place of William Barker Cushing. And if that last name sounds familiar to you, it's because he was the brother of Lieutenant Alonzo Cushing, who was a Medal of Honor recipient who was killed at the Battle of Gettysburg. Well, William Cushing served as a Union naval officer during the American Civil War and gained fame as a very daring officer and participated in the nighttime raid and destruction of Confederate ram CSS Albemarle. And that was so important to his career, we can even see that right above his name on the grave. He also led a naval brigade in the assault upon Fort Fisher, North Carolina, which if we go around here to the other side, they have Fort Fisher on there as well. And perhaps the most fascinating part of the story of William and his brother Alonzo is that his brother Alonzo is buried at West Point. And, well, of course, William's buried here at the U.S. Naval Academy. And accordingly, the Cushing family is the only military family to have a son buried at each of the U.S. Military Academy cemeteries. Again, West Point and here at the U.S. Naval Academy, which is just really neat. I'd also like to point out here on the top of the grave, in the stonework, we see the sword and hat. And it really is just a very well done marker, again, with the fascinating view of the river. And I'll tell you, if you get a chance to come to this cemetery, you will not be disappointed. It is absolutely incredible. It's such a peaceful place to walk around and pay your respects to different veterans and just learn a little bit more about our history as well. Like I said, I could spend an entire day, if not days, walking around, and some people do. There's just so much history packed in here and so many incredible men and women who served the United States military and beyond that, you know, you really got to see it for yourself. And I understand it's not the easiest cemetery to visit as far as visitation goes, since it's on the U.S. Naval Academy grounds. But if you do find yourself in Annapolis, Maryland, and you're able to get on the U.S. Naval Academy grounds, you don't want to miss this. You're going to want to come here and maybe set aside an hour or two at least to walk around and, again, pay your respects to all these men and women who served our nation and just learn a little bit more. It really puts things in perspective. But that's going to be it for this one. Now it's on to the next journey.